Hi again. I'm glad you've tuned in for another little episode in some stories that I'm going to share with you from the Bible. Now, remember, we've been looking at the life of Jesus, and we've been talking a little bit about stuff that occurred before he was born. Now, do you remember some of the names? I know it's been a while. Do you remember some of the folks we've talked about? Yep, we talked about John the Baptist, remember, and his mama and daddy, Elizabeth and Zachariah, and that story about how the angel appeared to Zachariah. You remember that? And said that that his wife was going to have a baby, Elizabeth was going to have a baby, and then when the baby was born, you were going to name him John. You remember that? And the angels, Zachariah said, "Oh, I don't believe that." And the angel said, gosh, I wish I hadn't said that because now you're not going to be able to talk until the baby's born. And that's exactly what happened. And remember, Elizabeth had her baby and they named it John. And John was going to be really, really important. We don't know how yet, but he's going to be really, really, really important in the story. Okay, so we talked about that. Remember, then we talked in the last episode, we talked about Mary and Joseph, who were going to be Jesus's mom and dad, and how an angel was involved in that too, and how an angel appeared to Mary and told her she was going to have a baby. And remember, Mary was related to Elizabeth, how Mary was going to have a baby and you're going to name him Jesus. And Mary said, how is that going to happen? I'm just a young girl. And the angel said, God's going to do an amazing thing for you and you're going to have a baby. And Mary said, well, doesn't make sense to me, but if God said it, I'm going to believe it. Okay? And then we talked about how the angel appeared to Joseph. And Joseph was a good guy, and Mary was going to have a baby, and that really bothered him because he knew he wasn't going to be the daddy. And Joseph decided that he was going to break it off with Mary. But an angel appeared to Joseph, this time in a dream, and said, Joseph, you shouldn't do that. Because Mary's not lying to you. She's going to have a baby, but that baby is connected to God. This is a miracle God is doing. And so you don't need to be afraid to take Mary as your wife. Things are going to be okay. In fact, the little boy she's going to have is going to be something really, really special. And I'll tell you what, Joseph, this is what the angel said. I want you to name that baby. And you're going to name him Jesus. And Jesus means Savior because he's going to save his people. Okay, so we talked about Elizabeth and Zachariah. We talked about Mary and Joseph. What we're going to talk about right now is about the birth of Jesus, and that's really exciting. Now, do you remember we celebrate the birth of Jesus one time a year? Do you know what that date is called? That day is called when we celebrate Jesus being born? That's right. We celebrate Jesus' birth at Christmas. And in a way, we could really have on Christmas a birthday party because that's really Jesus' birthday. Okay, so that's the day we remember to celebrate. We got Santa, and that's wonderful, and Santa's all involved. The focus of the day is on the birth of Jesus. In fact, that's why we give gifts. That's why Santa brings us gifts at Christmas, because people brought gifts to Jesus. So anyway, so we're going to talk about the first Christmas, which happened a long, 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 long time ago. Even before I was born, which is a long time ago, I got to tell you. All right, now this is how it happened, and I'm going to use our little friends here, our little stuffed animal friends, and I want you to pretend, because pretending is really, really important when you hear a story. We got Joseph, and I'm going to give you fair warning. This little guy is going to be Jesus later. But right now we're going to pretend that this little bear is Joseph. Okay? So Joseph, and he's engaged to be married to a young girl named, you remember, the angel appeared to her. It's going to be Mary, right? So we got Joseph and we got Mary, right? And Joseph and Mary are engaged to be married, right? And Joseph and Mary, Mary is going to have a baby, right? Because baby's going to be named Jesus. It's going to be really important because that's what God said. Well, there was a law, and this is a long, long time ago. There was a law that you needed to go and be registered. Now, do you know what the word registered means? It means your name needs to be written down in a book. See, the people who were in charge wanted to know how many folks were in their country. And so they said, man, we can either send people to count them, go to their houses and count them, or we can tell them to go someplace and be counted. And they decided to have people go to different places to be counted. And to figure out which place to go to, you had to go to the place where your daddy came from, where your family comes from. And Joseph, because he was kin to the king, the old King David of Israel, he was supposed to go to the city of David, which is named Bethlehem. So Joseph was going to go to Bethlehem to get his name written down in the book, and since he was about to be married to Mary, he's going to take her along with him, and they would have their name written down in the book. But Mary's going to have a baby anytime soon. So they're going to Bethlehem. And it's a long way. They're traveling a long way. And, she's on a donkey and he's walking. It's a long trip. Now, if you're going to have a baby and you're going all the way, either walking or riding a donkey, that's kind of rough. So they're going down to Bethlehem, right, which is a long way. And as they were going, Mary starts saying to Joseph, she says, Joseph? And he says, yeah. Joseph, I think I'm going to have this baby pretty soon. And Joseph said, can you wait for a little bit until we get our names written down in that book? And Mary said, I'll do the best I can, but when a baby comes, a baby comes. And I don't have much choice in the matter. And Joseph said, okay, we'll do the best you can. We still got to go to Bethlehem. So Joseph and Mary, and the closer they got to Bethlehem, the more Mary was saying, hey, Joseph, I'm going to have this baby pretty soon. Joseph said, well, can you wait a little bit, see if I can find a hotel in Bethlehem? So, because there's a lot of people, because a lot of folks are coming down to get their names written down in that book. And so Joseph goes, and they get to Bethlehem, and Joseph goes all the way. He says, Mary, you stay here, boom, and I'm going to go find us a place to stay. So he goes all over the place and tries to find a place for him to stay, goes to hotels and motels and boarding houses and all kinds of places. He's running all around, and he can't find a place for him to stay because everybody's come to town to get their name written in this book, and Joseph can't find a place. And so Joseph comes back to Mary and says, Mary, we got a problem. And Mary says, yeah, we got a big problem because this baby's on its way. And Joseph says, well, the problem we got is I can't find us a room. I can't find it at the Super 8, can't find it at the Holiday Inn, can't find a room anywhere. And Mary says, well, you know something? I got to find a place to lay down because this baby is coming whether we got a hotel room or not. And Joseph says, well, let me see if I can find a place for you to lay down. And so he finds this barn. And it's not a bad barn. And you know what they do? They keep in barns. They keep animals, right? In barns. And what kind of animals do you think they keep in barns? Well, like cows and horses and ducks. Hey, have you ever seen Charlotte's Web? There's a barn in Charlotte's Web. So all these animals are in the barn. And Joseph says, well, at least it's warm. And so he takes Mary and brings her to the barn. And now animals in a barn, because the animals are warm, barn's warm, and when they feed animals, they put the food in a trough. And back then, like hay, because that's what a lot of the animals eat. And back then they called a trough, feeding trough, a manger. Okay, so Mary is there and she says, Joseph, I'm going to have a baby. And Joseph says, let me boil some hot water. And while he's gone boiling hot water, Mary has her baby. And she wraps the baby up because she found some cloth in the barn, wraps him up and lays him down in the straw in the manger, the place where the animals eat. Now, have you ever felt straw? straw is really, 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 really soft. And so the baby is laying in the straw, and it's kind of, she's got him all wrapped up so he doesn't get cold, and he's kind of cooing and maybe crying because he's hungry. He's just a newborn baby. And Mary feels really good because she had baby. And you know what? It's a little baby boy. And we already know, what are they going to name that little baby boy? Remember what the angel said? They're going to name that baby boy Jesus. So here we got Jesus born in a barn. Now, that seems pretty simple, right? The story doesn't end here, though. Because out in the fields, not in the barn, but out in the fields, there are shepherds. And they're watching their sheep, because shepherds take care of sheep. And what are some things you need to do to take care of sheep? Yeah, you need to feed them. You need to make sure they got water to drink. You know, if an animal comes and tries to get them, you have to fight off the animal. So shepherds, they're pretty tough. They're pretty tough guys. So these tough guys are out in the field watching their sheep. And, you know, it's cold. Maybe they're eating some really kind of tough food. And these are rough guys, okay? And they're watching their sheep. Anyway, all of a sudden, they're watching the sheep. All of a sudden, the sky gets really, really light. You know, and the shepherds are saying, what the heck is going on here? And the sky gets really light, and they start hearing singing. They look up, and they see all these angels. Whoa! The shepherds are saying, good gracious, there are a lot of angels up there. And they're all singing, and they're flying around, and all of a sudden one of the angels steps forward, and the shepherds are just amazed at this. And the angel says, you know what, shepherds? You don't know this, but something very special has just happened. You see, back in Bethlehem, you know the little town of Bethlehem, which is just over the hill from where you are right now? Something incredible has happened. A baby boy was born. And he isn't just any kind of boy, baby boy. Because this baby boy is going to change everything. Everything is going to be different because this baby boy was born. And I'll tell you what I want you to do. This is the angel talking to the shepherd. I'll tell you what I want you to do. I want you to go to Bethlehem, and you're going to find this baby boy, and he's going to be with his mama and his daddy, and they're going to be in a barn. You know, and that baby's going to be laying in straw in a manger. When you find that baby boy, man, he is the one that's going to change the world. And the shepherds say, whoa, man, that just blows my mind. And so they're looking at the angel's still flying around, and they're singing and all kinds of stuff. And the shepherds start talking to one another. And they say, you know something? This is pretty good. This doesn't happen every day. Angels appearing to us in the fields. You know, that angel said to go to Bethlehem. You know what I think I will do? Let's go to Bethlehem, and let's see if the angel is right. Because if the angel's right, we're going to find a baby boy laying in a manger. And if we find a baby boy laying in a manger, then we know that baby boy is going to be really, really important in the future. And so the shepherds, you know, sort of take off. You know, they're kind of leaving their sheep. The sheep okay. They're just eating, you know, wandering around a little bit. And the shepherds say, we're gonna go to Bethlehem, not too far away. We'll leave these sheep out here for a little bit, and we're gonna check on what the angel said. And so they go to Bethlehem. And you know what? They find the barn, and in the barn they find Mary and Joseph. And guess what they find in the manger? Guess what they find laying in the straw? Yeah, that's right. They find a baby boy laying in the straw. And the shepherds say to themselves, this is exactly what the angel told us. This is really, really cool. And Mary says, what you talking about? And the shepherd said, let me tell you what happened in the field. And Joseph said, yeah, I'd like to hear this too. And the shepherds start telling him, you know, how the angels appeared, and there was all kinds of singing from heaven, and how the angel said that this little baby boy not only was going to be here in a manger and laying down in a barn, but how he was going to change everything in human history. And Joseph says, whoa, that's really cool. Man, I knew he was going to be special. I didn't know he was going to be that special. But you know, when Mary was hearing it, she wasn't saying very much. Instead, she was kind of listening, and she was taking everything they said and storing it up in their heart, in her heart. Now, that's the story of the first Christmas. That's the story about the birth of Jesus, the one that the angel told both Mary and Joseph about. Now, what we're going to do next week, now remember the shepherds, they were all excited. In fact, they went back to the sheep and they were celebrating. They thought, oh man, things are great. They were really excited about this birth. But next week, we're going to talk about a guy who wasn't all that excited. We're going to talk about a guy named Herod. And he wasn't all that excited at all by the birth of Jesus. So I want you to come back next episode, and I hope it'll be about a week to 10 days. You come on back, and we'll have another story from the Bible, story about the life of Jesus. And in the meantime, before I get to talk to you again, I want you to remember you are a child of God. You're a child of God. And God loves you. Oh, he loves you so much. You have a wonderful, wonderful day.